From Canada, Citizens Forum, where we look at the important issues of the day through a lens of democracy and media and try to figure out, how do we build a better country for ourselves? I am sick and tired of the corporate media lying to us every Remembrance Day. Every Remembrance Day, the corporate media all lie to us about World War II. The media talk about the bravery and honor of all the soldiers who fought and died and were injured and maimed in that horrible war. And all of that is true enough. But what the media do not tell us about is how money from the United States, and probably Canada too, flowed into Germany in the 1920s and 1930s to fund the Nazi Party in Germany and help bring them to power. And many North American corporations supplied the German military with what they needed to fight the war. And they don't tell us that because they don't want us to know it. For example, Standard Oil was involved in supplying fuel to the German Air Force so they could bomb everybody. Standard Oil later became Exxon, and Exxon owns Esso here in Canada. So nobody wants us to know that Standard Oil was involved with the Nazis, and so they don't tell us, and we don't know. One big name associated with helping bring the Nazis to power is Mr. Prescott Bush, the father and grandfather of the two Bush presidents. Mr. Bush was a director of the Union Banking Corporation, owned by a couple of the richest American families, and that bank was used to funnel money to the Nazi Party in the 1920s and 1930s to help bring Hitler and the Nazis to power. The fact that this has been kept secret for 100 years is really amazing. The fact is that the father and grandfather of the two Bush presidents was involved in funding Hitler and the Nazis, and that fact has been kept secret for 100 years. Mr. Prescott Bush was even elected to the U.S. Senate in the 1950s, just a few years after the war ended. Imagine the power needed to keep secret the fact that Mr. Bush, who was running for a seat in the U.S. Senate, was involved with Hitler and the Nazis. And the media of the day certainly knew about it. It wasn't a secret in the banking world or the political world, but it was kept secret from the American people, and is basically still a secret, even 100 years later. And every year around Remembrance Day, our media and politicians talk about the heroism and sacrifice of our soldiers. But they don't tell us that our soldiers were being killed by Western corporations. For example, it can be argued that the Nazis could not have invaded Poland and Russia without General Motors. In some cases, GM and Ford agreed to convert their German factories to military production when they were still resisting calls for military production in their US plants. Standard Oil, which later became Exxon, was also involved with supplying the German Air Force with the special kinds of fuel needed for the Nazi fighters and bombers to operate. IBM was involved with early computer card systems used to keep track of Jewish people being sent to the concentration camps. Western firms were involved with using slave labor from concentration camps like Auschwitz. Now, there is no question that this kind of stuff happened, although I certainly don't know the details of who was complicit and who wasn't. But these kinds of things should be told to us because these kinds of things are still going on. The entire Vietnam War was based on lies, just like it seems World War II was based on lies. Look at the attack on Iraq, based on the weapons of mass destruction that were never found. Millions of people died because of that completely unnecessary war. And I have a feeling the same is true about Russia-Ukraine. We just can't believe the stuff we're told. We need to know the truth. The truth is always important. And the fact that our media and politicians will not tell us certain truths about a lot of Western money and support being given to Nazi Germany before, during, and after World War II. If we don't know that, then we don't know the truth of our history. And that's why they don't tell us, because they, our ruling class of today, never want us to know the truth. They want us to believe that America was fighting the Nazis, but the truth clearly is a little bit different than that. Just as our ruling class of today want us to believe that both Canada and the United States are great democracies, when again, that is also not really the truth. We need the truth, not the phony stories. In World War II, Canadian soldiers were sent off to kill and be killed. Imagine their surprise if they knew that the young soldiers who they were killing and who were killing them were being funded and supplied by rich people and giant corporations from Canada and the United States. And then after the war, thousands or tens of thousands of Nazis were brought into Canada and the United States in another operation that is seldom looked at or discussed. Because again, the people running Canada and the United States don't want these things discussed. Jewish people trying to escape the Nazi death camps were not allowed into Canada or the United States. They were forced to go to Israel. But the Nazis trying to escape punishment for their crimes were let into Canada and the United States after the war. That is reality. And it's very important that we know about it because the exact same things are still going on today. And it's only if we can understand our history that we can see and understand the realities of today. If we knew more of the truth about World War II, we might be less willing to believe our rulers when they tell us their stories about the things they want us to believe today. We have to stop listening to and believing the lies our rulers tell us. And I hope we do stop soon. But I certainly believed it for most of my life. But now I know better. Or, of course, I could be wrong. But I don't think I am.